Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to talk about corporate America. Basically, the biggest corporations in the United States control and use and abuse Democrats and progressives and liberals. Back in the day, it used to be that liberals, progressives, generally people on the left, people in the Democratic Party, were against big corporations, were against big business, and they always stood against them. But in the past 5 to 6 years, all of that has changed. All that has changed. It's turned 160 degrees, 180 degrees. So today, Democrats and just uh, progressives, liberals basically stand with the biggest corporations. They stand, you know, next to each other and support each other. And these big corporations are basically using and abusing useful idiots on the left to do their bidding. So what am I talking about? Well, for example, let's take Nike, right? Let's take Nike as the biggest example, right? All of a sudden, Nike, right, when the NFL uh, with all the controversy with NFL players kneeling, not standing up for the USA anthem and all of those issues, right? They decided to take a stand, and the stand was that they're going to stand with people who kneel for the anthem, who kneel for the American flag, right? They took a stand that's basically that basically stands with Black Lives Matter, that stands with America is systemically racist. And so, why is this important? Well, it's important because Nike is one of the biggest multinational corporation in the entire world, right? Nike is one of the biggest corporation in the entire world. They make tens of billions of dollars in revenue, right? They turn tens and tens of billions of dollars. I mean, they're a gigantic corporation. They're a gigantic corporation, and guess how they make their money? Guess how they make the money? They have child slave labor in Asian countries, right? They have child slave labor in third world countries, especially Asian countries, right? That's how they do it. They go into these very poor third world countries in Asia, in Africa, regardless, right? Regardless where it is, and they open up these factories, which are basically sweatshops, and they hire children. And so these children, usually, 11, 12, 13 years old, work 10 hours a day, 10 hours a day for less than $1 for that work. They work 10 hours a day for less than $1. So it's basically slave labor. It's basically slave labor, and that's how they make their money. And all Nike has to do, all Nike has to do to avoid any criticism and to basically get every single lefty out there to buy all of their fucking products, even though they're made by child slave fucking labor, is to appear woke, right? All they have to do is appear woke. So what do? They hire an overly privileged guy who's worth probably hundreds of millions of dollars, right? They hire overly privileged guy who's been playing sports and earning tens of millions per year, right? Overall worth probably more than 100 million dollars, and they hire him, And that's how they become woke. That's how they gain basically popularity with the left. It's like this gigantic multinational corporation that has tens of billions of dollars, right? Hires a multimillionaire, very privileged, very wealthy, you know, person who hasn't struggled a day in his life, right? Who hasn't struggled any day in his life, Colin Kaepernick, right? They hired him because he kneeled for the anthem, because he said he's oppressed. So they hire him, they pay him tens of millions of fucking dollars, right? They pay him tens of millions of fucking dollars on top of the hundreds of millions he's already earned, right? He already has, and all of a sudden, they're amazing. All of a sudden, every single lefty is out there supporting Nike. And that's how they do it, right? Nike basically is engaged in modern day slavery. Nike is engaged in modern day slavery, but the left doesn't care. Doesn't care as long as they appear woke. As long as they appear woke, it's okay, right? Nike, a gigantic multinational corporation that has child slave labor, is perfectly fine with them. What's not perfectly fine is some random guy, living in, I don't know, Georgia or whatever, Texas, random guy working, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, for 40 years. That's the evil guy. That's the evil guy because he's white and he's a male, right? It's not these gigantic corporations who are abusing you, who are abusing child slave labor in Asia. No, that's not who's evil here. That's not who's problematic. The real issue here, the big problem, is some random guy living in Texas working 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, for 40, 50 years. That's who the problem is, according to modern day leftists, modern day Democrats. I mean, think about that. Think about that. If you're a lefty, if you're a Democrat, if you're a progressive, liberal, you're basically supporting Nike and corporations like Nike, right? Disney, Amazon, Facebook, Google, you name it. You're supporting all of these corporations because they appear, quote, woke, right? I mean, all Apple CEO has to come out and say, we're woke. We support wokeness. We support, Black Lives Matter. And all of a sudden, Apple is the perfect company, right? Doesn't matter that they have basically slave camps in India. Doesn't matter that they have slave camps all over Asia, right? Doesn't matter that they are paying basically less than $2 a day. Some of these workers all over the world, right? Especially in India and especially in Asia. Doesn't matter that they're abusing them. Doesn't matter that they're basically using slave labor. Doesn't matter that they're not paying them anything. They're basically paying them pennies for their work, basically, and just enough for them to survive, so they can work the next day, and that's okay. Apple is great, right? Apple is great. Why? Because they say they're woke. Because they say they're woke, right? All they have to do is come out and say, we're woke, we support Black Lives Matter, and we are against evil, white racists. And all of a sudden, all of the left, just like that, within a second, right? It's like, we love Apple. We love Apple, we love Google, we love Amazon, we love Nike, etc. Right? They start loving these companies. And again, think about Apple. They're abusing slave labor all over the world. China, Asia, India, etc. Nike, the same. They're abusing child labor, right? They're abusing child slave labor all over Asia. All over Asia. Amazon, I mean, they're pretty much abusing every single work in the United States. In the United States, they're treating their workers like robots, like the machines, right? They're having algorithms manage their workers. Algorithms. They have cameras following them every single step of the way, right? But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Every single leftist loves Amazon, loves Apple, loves Google, loves Nike. Why? Because they go out and say they're woke. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And that shouldn't be the case, right? Instead of going and canceling random people on the right or in the center, or libertarians, conservatives, constitutionalists, independents, etc., who don't agree 100% with you, right? Instead of canceling them for nothing, right? Because they disagree with you, how about you speak out against these big corporations? How about you start canceling Disney? How about you start canceling Apple? How about you start canceling Nike for all of their malicious practices, for all of their slave labor, for all of their sweatshops, right? I mean, you're basically working. If you're a Democrat, if you're a lefty these days, you're basically working. You're a useful idiot for the biggest corporations in the entire world. You're a useful idiot for the power elite. Okay, the people that control the world, that control the economy, that control the finances, that are the most wealthiest, they have the most power. You're useful idiots for them. You just 100% useful idiots for them. And all they have to do is come out and say, we're woke, we love wokeness, Black Lives Matter, and that's it. You know what I mean? While, again, Black Lives Matter for Nike, except in Africa where they have, again, child slave camps, right? So, I mean, how do Black Lives Matter when they're running sweatshops with children in them? To me, that seems that no lives matter for Nike, right? No lives matter for Nike, not even children lives. They're willing to abuse child slave fucking labor for their profits. They don't care about you. They don't care about black lives. They don't care about Asian fucking lives. They don't care about white lives. They don't care about any fucking lives. Okay? They're using and abusing you. They're using and abusing you. If you're a lefty, you're being abused. You're being a useful idiot for all of these gigantic mega fucking corporations who are fucking abusing you. Right? Who don't care about anything. Don't care about you. Don't care about your friends. Don't care about your fucking family. All they care about is power and control and money. That's all they care about. So, like, stop being useful idiot for Amazon, for Jeff Bezos, for Nike, for Apple, all of these gigantic corporations who use slave fucking labor in China, who use slave fucking labor in Asia, who use child fucking sweatshops in Africa, in Asia, in all of these third world countries, and start going after them. Start going after those people who are in power, right? Who has the most power? The richest people in the entire world. That's who has power. You're like average guy living in Texas or Florida or whatever, working 6 hours a week, barely surviving, making ends meet. He's not the enemy. He's not the enemy. Again, you're going after the wrong crowd. You're being manipulated. You're being manipulated and being used to help these gigantic corporations basically gain more power and control over all of us, over our lives. So yeah, that's it for today. See you guys next time.